Have you ever found yourself drawn to someone you knew you shouldn't want? That's how my story began, a spark that turned into a fire I couldn't control. This is my confession, my truth about being the other woman. It's messy, complicated, and full of emotions that will make your heart race. Stick around, and let's dive into a world where love and desire cross forbidden lines. And don't forget to share your thoughts at the end. I want to know what you think about my choices. I met Daniel at a fundraiser. He was that kind of guy who instantly catches your eye, tall, confident, and with a smile that could make you forget your own name. When he started talking to me, it felt like we were the only two people in the room. There was this energy between us, an unspoken connection that made me feel alive. I hadn't felt that way in a long time. At first, I thought it was harmless. Just a conversation. But then he touched my hand, just for a moment, and it felt like electricity. I should have walked away then, but I didn't. I couldn't. By the end of the night, we exchanged numbers, and I told myself it was just friendly. Nothing more. The first time we met for coffee, it felt innocent enough. We laughed, talked about work, life, and dreams. But as we sat there, I noticed the way he looked at me. Like he wanted me. And God, I wanted him too. That's when he told me he was married. I froze. My stomach sank, and for a second, I thought about ending it right there. But then he told me his marriage was more like a partnership, that they hadn't been in love for years. He said he was lonely. And in that moment, I believed him. Or maybe I just wanted to believe him. Every time we were together, it felt like magic. Like the rest of the world didn't exist. The way he kissed me, the way he touched me, it was like he knew exactly what I needed. We'd sneak away to places where no one would recognize us, a quiet bar, a hotel room with dim lighting, or even a park bench under the stars. There was one night that still haunts me, in the best way. We'd rented a cabin by the lake, miles away from anyone who could judge us. He made dinner while I sipped wine, watching him move with ease in the kitchen. Later, we sat by the fire, our legs tangled together as we talked about everything and nothing. When he kissed me, it wasn't rushed or urgent. It was slow, deliberate, like he wanted to savor every second. And when he whispered my name, it felt like I was the only woman in the world. But those moments didn't last. They never do. Because at the end of the weekend, he always went back to her. And I was left alone, staring at the empty side of my bed, wondering what I was doing. Being with Daniel wasn't just thrilling, it was also heartbreaking. I'd find myself lying awake at night, thinking about his wife. What was she doing while he was with me? Did she suspect anything? Did she love him? The guilt ate away at me, but it didn't stop me. I told myself that what we had was different, that it was real, even if it was wrong. There were times when I wanted to walk away, to end it. But every time I tried, he'd pull me back in. He'd say all the right things, make me feel like I was the only one who truly understood him. And I'd fall for it, every single time. The illusion shattered one evening when he canceled our plans at the last minute. His wife had planned a surprise family dinner, and he had no choice but to go. I spent the night scrolling through his wife's social media, looking at pictures of their family vacations, their anniversaries, their perfect little life. It hit me like a punch to the gut. I was the outsider, the secret. I wasn't part of his world, and I never would be. The next time we met, I told him how I felt. He looked at me with those sad eyes and said he needed more time. That he couldn't just leave his family. And in that moment, I realized he never would. I was living in a fantasy, and it was time to wake up. Walking away from Daniel was the hardest thing I've ever done. When I told him it was over, he begged me to stay. He promised things would change, that he just needed a little more time. But I knew better. I deserved more than stolen moments and empty promises. The last time I saw him, he kissed me like he was trying to make me stay. But I pulled away. I walked out of that hotel room and didn't look back. It hurt like hell, but for the first time in years, I felt free. Looking back, I've come to terms with my choices. I've learned that love isn't supposed to make you feel small or hidden. It's not supposed to come with secrets and lies. I've forgiven myself for the mistakes I made, but I've also promised myself to never settle for anything less than what I deserve. So now, I want to hear from you. What would you do in my situation? Have you ever been tempted to cross a line, even when you knew it was wrong? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about the messy, complicated, and all too human side of love and desire. Do you believe people can truly change for love, or do we just tell ourselves what we want to hear? Let me know your take on this. I'm curious to see how you view my story and what it says about relationships and trust.